Everyone, my name is Olajumoke Okwade. I'm a legal intern at Alem Solicitors. In the next few minutes, I'll be discussing a topic titled the Regulatory Framework and Environmental Standards for Telecommunication Masts and TARs. As far as the Nigerian telecommunication industry is concerned, the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) is the sole regulatory body. However, there are other regulatory bodies that regulate other aspects of the Nigerian telecommunications industry. We will discuss this further. The Nigerian Communications Commission was created under the Nigerian Communications Act 2003 and is saddled with the responsibility of creating a regulatory framework for the Nigerian communications industry and all matters related thereto. Section 70 of the NCA 2003 provides that the Commission, the NCC, has the power to publish guidelines or regulations to give full effect to the provision of the NCA 2003. It is in furtherance of this that the NCC has published the legal guidelines on the technical specification for the installation of telecommunication masts and towers 2009, hereinafter referred to as the 2009 guidelines. The 2009 guidelines provide that the maximum height of a telecommunication tower must be 150 meters. However, for a telecommunication mast or tower to exceed 150 meters, it must be approved by the NCC, and it must also be satisfied that the increased height of the tower would not be detrimental to public health, safety, or general welfare. 2, will not have negative effect on the neighborhood. 3, is in conformity with the plan of a particular area and with the general plan of the community. And 4, will not impair compliance with any other applicable laws or guidelines. Also, the 2009 guidelines provide for abandoned towers. A tower would be deemed to be abandoned if it has not been in use for at least 3 years. This would lead to the Commission informing the owner of the mast, which would be the network service provider or the infrastructure service provider, to dismantle or remove such a mast. Failure on the part of the owner to remove such a mast would lead to the Commission removing the mast, and the owner would bear the full cost of such a removal and would also be liable to a minimum penalty of 250,000 naira. Also, the guidelines provide that any telecommunication mast must be set back by a minimum distance of 5 meters. Like I said, the Nigerian Communications Commission is not the only regulatory body in the Nigerian telecommunications industry. We also have the National Environmental Standards and Regulation Enforcement Agency. NESRA is a parastatal under the Federal Ministry of Environment, Housing and Urban Development. NESRA was created under the National Environmental Standards and Regulation Enforcement Act, NESRA Act, and its major function is to ensure the enforcement of environmental standards that have been set out in the NESRA Act. Section 34 of the NESRA Act also empowers the NESRA to publish guidelines and regulations to give full effect to the provisions of NESRA. It is in furtherance of this that NESRA has published the National Environmental Standards for Telecommunications and Broadcast Facilities, Regulation 2011, hereinafter referred to as the 2011 regulations. The 2011 regulations make a provision that any telecommunication mast must be set back by a minimum distance of 10 meters. This is where NCC and NESRA differ in their provision for the setback. While NCC prescribes a minimum setback of 5 meters, NESRA prescribes a minimum setback of 10 meters. This was the subject of the dispute in the EFAB estate dispute in 2014, where the two bodies were at crossroads as to which setback should regulate the Nigerian telecommunications industry. At the end of the day, the two ministers from the two ministries were able to reach a consensus, and the consensus was that the minimum setback would be 10 meters, and where 10 meters is not achievable, the 7.5 meters setback would be allowed. Also, where generators are used to power a BTS site, that is a site where a telecommunication mast or tower is sited. Such a generator, the 2011 regulations provide that such a generator must be set back by a minimum distance of 6 meters from the perimeter fence of the nearest residential property, 8 meter setback from the wall of the nearest residential property where there is no perimeter fence, and a 15-meter setback from any existing surface water body, a well, a lake, etc. And also, the guidelines also encourages the use of environmental friendly power sources, solar, hydro, and anyone you can think of. We also have permissible noise levels provided for under the 2011 guidelines. In residential area, the permissible noise level is 50 decibels by day and 30 decibels by night. In schools and hospitals, it is 45 decibels by day and 35 decibels by night. In commercial areas, it is 55 decibels by day and 45 decibels by night. Also, the NCC 2009 guidelines also provide that all generators must be sited 5 meters away from any demised property, excluding the fence, and such a generator must be soundproof, must also be supported by good downpads installed on shock absorbers to minimize vibrations, and it must also be placed in a way that the exhaust pipe are not directed towards any demised property. It is important to state that all these regulations and guidelines as regards the generator are to mitigate the effect of heat and noise that comes from this generator set. There are also other requirements that are needed for a telecommunication mast. One of such includes the aviation height clearance issued by the National Civil Aviation Authority. We also have the environmental impact statement certificate issued through NESRA, and for states we have the environmental impact assessment report, and the Federal Capital Territory issues a planning build permit. However, the only permit issued by the local government is the stacking permit. Now, all of these regulations and the requirements that a telecommunication mast must have before it is required, must have, are just to ensure that the telecommunication mast and they comply with the standards that have been set out so as to mitigate the effect that the operation of this telecommunication mast has on human beings. For more information on the regulatory framework and environmental standards for telecommunication masts and towers or other telecommunications law related issues, you can visit our website at www.alemsolicitors.com, or you can also visit our social media platforms on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on Instagram. Thank you very much.